This is the review for your Chapter 5 test, which is tomorrow. There are quite a few things that you need to know. This review is great. Okay, this review is great, but there's other things that you also have to know. So I'm going to go over another review, the practice A and B, but I'm only going to go over the practice A side. So what's going to be on your test? Your test is 16 questions. 2 of those questions are going to be proofs. They are completely blank. You should have no more than 4 statements and 4 reasons. Okay, if you have more than that, just go back and double check it. If you have less than that, it is possible, but still check. Yes. 4 statements, 4 reasons, but you can have less, and there's 2 proofs. So like I said, there's a total of 16 questions. Certain questions have multiple answers, so there is a lot of possibilities for you guys to get points. Because it is a completely free response test, there is no multiple choice. You can definitely get partial credit, okay? And you guys do have your calculators as well. Do you have to show work on this test? Yes. Ms. Chang, I have a calculator. Can I plug everything into my calculator and do the work? Of course you can. But I need to see what you're plugging in and how you're plugging it in. So please write out the work. Do not just write an answer. Okay, I need to see the work. This is not multiple choice. I have to see the process. So please make sure you're putting your answers. Please make sure your answers are the answers that you're choosing. Circle them, highlight them, put them on the line. I don't want to have to guess which one is your answer. So please, please, please make sure you guys are writing them where they belong. But with that being said, the proofs are not difficult. I'll be honest, some of the proofs on the practice are harder than the ones on the test. The ones on the test are very simple, okay? Again, if you know vocabulary, they should be easy. So I'm going to go ahead and go over the review that was for homework for you guys. This was due this morning. There were some questions on here that were challenging, so I didn't expect you to answer, I think, like 2 of them. But if you did, great. But other than that, everything else should have been completed. So we're going to go ahead and do the first proof, which is number 1 right here. You have your 2-column proof. We have our statements and we have our reasons. So when you are writing your proofs, you should definitely get the first statement and the first reason correct, and the last statement as well, because you're just copying down what they have. So let's go ahead and get started. The first one is everything that's given. CA is congruent to CB, which is congruent to CD, which is also congruent to CE. And all of this is given. I always check. Is it drawn on my diagram? Yes, it is, so I don't have to draw anything else. Now, I'm going to draw everything after this because I want to make sure I have all the information. So if I'm looking at this diagram, can someone tell me what else on this diagram can I prove is congruent? Yes, Camilla. Say it one more time. Vertical angles, so I do have a vertical angles theorem. Yes, I can shorten it to VAT. Okay, they're going to be congruent, and what are my vertical angles? Yeah. Angle ACB is congruent to angle, you said DCE? Good. Okay, if you wanted to switch that, that's fine, as long as C is in the middle, because both sides are the same. So I'm going to go ahead and make those congruency marks. Looking at it, do I have enough information to prove that they're congruent? That both my triangles are congruent? Yes, thank you. How can I prove that they're congruent? Good. ABC, triangle ABC is congruent to triangle EDC by side, angle, side, and I'm done. Okay, so this one is definitely on the shorter side, pretty easy, not too difficult. All right, I'm going to go ahead and go to number 2. I have my 2-column proof. I have my statements, I have my reason. Again, the first one is going to be what's given. I have JK is parallel to ML, and MJ is parallel to KL. How do I know it's given? That should be pretty easy. All right, looking at it, what else do I know is going to be congruent here? Yeah. Good. MK is going to be congruent to MK because it's reflexive. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that reflexive line. They're going to be congruent. What else do I know is congruent here? Yeah. Okay, angle LMK is congruent to, say this one more time. How? Good, because I have two parallel lines cut by a transversal, I have alternate interior angles. Okay, so this is LMK, which is right here, and JKM. Do I have another pair of alternate interior angles? Yeah. Camilla, go ahead. Angle LKM is congruent to angle JMK. Good. And they're alternate interior angles. I don't have to write it again because it's the same thing. But I am going to go ahead and make my two congruent marks. So here's one. Here's two. Do I have enough information to prove that the triangles are congruent? Yes, I do. So I'm going to go ahead and do 4. Triangles MJK is congruent to triangle KLM by what? How do I know they're congruent? Leilani? Good. Angle, side, angle. Okay. Questions on 2? Yes.
Is it okay that I switched around the order of it?
So for 2 and 3?
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah, if you switch 2 and 3, let's say you put this one second and this one third, that's fine. It still makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine if you switch those two. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and go to 3. So 3, still writing my proof. I have my statements, my reasons, and looking at this one, what's given is QR is congruent to RS. Angle P is congruent to angle T. Is all my information drawn? No, I'm missing my angles. So I'm going to have P and T right here. And now, is there anything else that I can determine that's congruent? Yeah. I can't say RP and RT are congruent. I can't say the segments are congruent because I don't know. What else do we see that's congruent? There's something that's reflexive. Sophia?
ST and Q.
No, not ST and QP. Caitlin? Catherine. Sorry, Catherine. Good. Angle R is congruent to angle R. Angle R is congruent to angle R, and that's reflexive. Keep in mind you can't have reflexive angles. So because it's overlapping, it's congruent. Okay, so right here is reflexive. You're gonna have to wait. All right, so what are they asking me? Because I understand it's a little difficult to see because how it's drawn. But they're asking for SRP. Is it congruent to QRT? I'm going to draw them. So here's SRP. SRP. This is congruent, and this. And then I have QRT. This is congruent, and this is congruent. Okay, so if you're separating them visually wise, it helps to see what is marked. So looking at this, do I have enough information to prove that these triangles are congruent? Yes. How are they congruent? Good. So I have triangle SRP is congruent to triangle QRT by angle, side. All right. Questions on the first three proofs? Questions, comments, concerns? You guys have to know how to do your proofs for the test. Yes.
For number 3, why wouldn't it be ASJ?
So when I'm looking at number 3 for this one, angle, side. Your side is the side that's not included. So if it's on the outside, it's going to be on the outsides of my two angles. Okay, good. All right, looking at number 3, it says, find the measure of each acute angle in the figure at the right. So this figure right here. Something we know about this figure. It is a right triangle. So that means these two angles added together is also going to equal 90. So if I am solving this, how I would solve it is I would set it up as 4x minus 2 plus 3x plus 8 equals 90. That's how I would solve it. Keep in mind they want to know the angles of the acutes. What are the measures of the acute angles? So I have to solve for x first. Your answer should not be x. They're not asking me for x. All right, combine my like terms. I'm going to have 7x plus 6 equals 90. Subtract 6 from both sides. We're just doing simple algebra work. Divide by 7. X is going to equal 12. So with that being said, since it is 12, I'm going to go ahead and plug it in. 3 times 12 plus 8, that's going to give me 36 plus 8, that's going to give me 44. So this angle right here is going to give me 44 degrees. I don't necessarily have to plug in 12 for x. Keep in mind, we said that these two angles added together equals 90. So all I have to do is take that 44, subtract it from 90, and I'm going to get 46 for this angle. So my answer for number 3 is going to be 46 degrees and 44 degrees. They want the measure of each acute angle. So please be aware of how to solve that. Yes.
I added them all together.
That's fine. We should still get the same answer. So you did the angles plus 90 equals 180?
Yeah.
That should be fine. You should still get, did you get the same answer?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still going to work. All right, looking at the next one. Is it possible to draw an equilateral triangle that is not equiangular, yes or no? No. Okay, this is no. Equilateral triangles are going to be, must be equiangular and vice versa. It cannot be anything other than those two together. So just remember that because you will see something like that on the test. You will have to determine what's congruent and what isn't. And on the test, you will have to classify triangles by sides and angles. So please make sure you know how to spell those. All right, number 6. Can you use the third angles theorem to prove that two triangles are congruent? Yes or no? This is no. Okay, think about it. Third angles theorem is what? What is that? What is the third angles theorem? Yeah. Okay, if two angles from one triangle is congruent to two angles of the other triangle, then the third angle is also congruent. Is there such thing as angle, angle, angle? No. So I can't use third angles theorem to prove that triangles are congruent. I could prove that all the angles are congruent, but I cannot prove that two triangles are congruent. So this one should be no. I cannot or cannot use angle, angle, angle. I can't use that. Yes.
Can you go back up to number 3?
Yeah, when I'm done, I'll go back. Okay, but I want to get this done first. All right. Does everybody understand number 6? Okay. Number 7, write a plan that proves angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. Looking at this, I need to write a proof. That is my plan. It is my proof. So here's my 2 columns. I have my statements and I have my reasons. Obviously, they're not giving me anything. They're not writing anything specifically in words, but they are giving me my diagram. So looking at my diagram, I'm going to go ahead and write what is given on the diagram. So what is given on my diagram? One thing that is given is that AC is congruent to BE. That I know because they're giving me those congruency marks. Next thing that I know is CD is congruent to DE. Again, they're giving me those congruency marks. And actually, this should not be 2. This is still part of my given. And then I also know that angle A, DC, and angle B, DE are right angles. And this is all given. Because I have something that is a right angle, I can also state triangle ADC is congruent, or let's write triangle ADC and triangle BDE are right angles, are right triangles because of definition of right triangles. I also know that those triangles are going to be congruent. Triangle ADC is congruent to triangle BDE. Why? How do I know that they're congruent? Good, HL. Okay, I have my hypotenuse, which is opposite my angle, and then I have one leg that is also congruent. So, because those 2 triangles are congruent, I can then state AD is congruent to BD because they're corresponding parts. So I'm going to have corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. And if I'm looking at this shape by itself, what kind of shape is this, naming by its sides? What kind of triangle? We have to know this. What kind of triangle is this? Good, this is an isosceles triangle. Because it's an isosceles triangle, my base angles are also going to be congruent. So 5. Angle 1 is going to be congruent to angle 2 because of base angles theorem. Because it is an isosceles triangle and because my 2 sides are congruent, my 2 base angles will also be congruent. Okay, so that's how you do 7. 8 is definitely lengthy. If you did not do 8, that is fine. You don't have to know how to do 8 on your test. So if you did it, great. There were a lot of steps for that one. And I don't want to confuse you guys for those of you that might already be confused. I think there's like 12 on here. Leilani?
Is it okay if I didn't do step 2?
That's fine. Yeah. Because from step 1 to step 3, you should know that they're congruent by HL. That's fine. All right, number 9, it says, is there more than one theorem that you can use to prove that triangle ABD is congruent to triangle CDB? Yes or no? Are they congruent? Yes. Okay, tell me one. Who can give me one? HL. What's another one? There's multiple. Yes. Side, angle, side. Keep in mind this is reflexive, so this is congruent. What's another one? Yeah. Angle, side. And there's one more. Yeah. Angle, side, angle. Good. All right, number 10, we did not do coordinate proofs, so do not worry about that one. If you did it, cool. If you did not, great, that's fine. All right, 11, you will see a question similar to this on your test, so hopefully we knew how to solve it. Information they're giving us, the measure of the base triangle shown as 100 Roman feet. The measure of the other sides are both 144 Roman feet, so I'm going to go ahead and write it. Classify the triangle shown by its sides. Yes. This is an isosceles. Please make sure you know how to spell it.
Wait, if we don't know how to spell it, it's confusing.
If it's close to isosceles, like,
It could be because isosceles.
pronounce that it's isosceles. But if you're, like, writing scasosceles or, like, scalene mixed with isosceles, or if you're trying to combine two words, I'm most likely going to write it wrong. I'm going to mark it wrong. So, can anybody tell me all the names of the triangles classified by its sides? Yes.
Isosceles, scaling,
Lateral. Okay.
And, and right, I think.
Okay, right? Yeah, that's fine. So you have isosceles, scalene. They're both very different. Equilateral and you have right. Those are all very different. You guys should not be combining words. And what about classifying by its angles? Acute, obtuse, right, and equiangular. Okay? Angle goes with angle. Lateral goes with lines. So you have your sides. So just letting you know. Don't get those mixed up.
Is this recorded?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. B, the measure of angle 3 is 40, so I'm just going to go ahead and write it in. It says, what is the measure of angle 1 and angle 2? Is angle 1 and angle 2 going to be the same? Mm-hmm. Yes. How would I solve for the measure of angle 1 and angle 2? Yeah, go ahead, Sue.
The whole measure of the entire triangle is 180.
Mm-hmm.
And they're taking the measure of one of the angles, so you subtract that from 180.
Uh-huh.
That would give you 140. And then since it's two angles that are the same, you would divide that by 2. And 140 divided by 2 is 70.
Good. So 70 degrees, you could have set it up as an equation if you wanted to by adding everything. If I have 40 plus 2x equals 180, this is another way to solve it if you want. It's the same thing. I'm still subtracting 40 from both sides. I'm going to get 2x equals 140, still dividing by 2. And then I'm going to get x equals 70. So all depends on how you want to think about it. If you're better off working it out separately, just make sure it's neat. Okay? So this is the review that you guys had for homework. So I will go back if you need me to go back for something. But I'm going to go over review A and B. I'm just going to go over A and show you what you should know. It's really all the questions, but there are a few that I kind of crossed out. So Camilla, do you have a question?
The number 7 is only similar to number 7 in the test.
Just study the proofs. If you study the proofs, I think you will be fine. You will be fine. All right. So, going over A and B, I'm just really going over A on questions that you should know. I would practice classifying all the triangles on these by angles and sides, because you will get questions like that on your test. So, I'm going to just highlight what's important. So, if we're looking at practice A, for 5-1, classify the triangle by its sides and its angle measures. You should definitely know how to do those. Okay, those are pretty easy to do. 3 and 4, determine whether it's a right triangle. This is good. I would recommend graphing it using graph paper. You guys should be able to do that on Notability. And then graph it and determine, is it a right triangle, yes or no? Okay. These are always good, 5 through 8. Okay, solve for x. You will have solving questions on there, so this is just generally good practice. Number 9, you had a question like that on your quiz. I want to say it's good practice to solve it, but you don't necessarily have to know how to do that one. Okay. 11. The figure shows the measure of various angles of a roof and its support. Find the measure of angle 1. Yes, practice this one. Okay. Find the measure of those angles. Know how to solve. 5.2, practice A. Understand the corresponding parts and what's congruent to each other. That one's good. 2, in the figure, find the values of x and y. Yes. Show that the two quadrilaterals are congruent. Yeah, determine how they're congruent. Find the measure of angle T, which is a good one as well. The congruent statements, A, B, C, D, they're all valid. What must be true about these angles? Concept-wise, understand it, but you don't really have to know that one for the test. That's fine. All right, 5.3, practice A. Definitely good to practice these. Okay, are they side angle side? You have to know all the congruency theorems. 3 and 4, not necessarily. You don't have to know these quite in depth. Those are fine. You could skip over them. 6, definitely practice your proofs. Okay. 6, practice your proofs. 5, don't worry about that one. 5.4, practice A. Yes, practice these. Practice solving. Also, again, be able to know how to classify these. Classify them by the angles and sides. 3 and 4, yes, definitely practice these. Definitely practice these. Definitely practice these. 5, good thing to know. Okay. And 6, I'm not going to say you have to know this one. Concept-wise, yes. Okay. What makes an isosceles triangle? What makes an obtuse triangle in that way? So again, that goes back to classifications. Understand what those are. Isosceles, scaling, what are they? What makes those things up? All right, 5.5. Definitely practice these. You're going to get your congruency theorems. You're going to have to name them. 4, you can never go wrong by practicing proofs. Again, you're going to have short proofs. So practice them. They're not, once you see them on the test, you're going to see that it's not bad. Okay, they're not hard on the test. Graph these. I would say graph them and classify them. Okay. Classify by angles and sides. Just classify all your triangles. It'll definitely help, and it'll help with the spelling, so it's easy for me to check it. All right, 5.6. Know if there's enough information to prove that these are congruent. Definitely. Proofs. Like I said, you can never go wrong with studying your proofs. 6, don't worry about it. And then the last one, explain how to prove these. These are proof questions. Again, practice. I'm not saying you have to practice all of them, but definitely at least practice the ones that you have in your notes. Okay, practice the ones in your notes because those are pretty on the easier side. And then 6, definitely know how to do number 6. But other than that, you guys will have a calculator, show your work. The test is not hard. It's a lot of concepts, but study your notes if you want. Study this. You have another review on Canvas if you need it. But study for your test, guys. This is your first test. And I think the main thing that you might make mistakes on is the work. Okay. Because it is a lot of solving, just check your work. Okay, check your work. Questions, comments, concerns before I have you guys work on the review? No? Question on this, Jonah?
Can you go back to number
I'll go back.
3?
But do we have any questions on this? No? Okay, all right.